Hello, everyone. This is Andre, Yes to Real Estate.
And this is Demetrice with the Wynnwood Group.
And we are super excited to invite you to stay tuned to our podcast, which is Yes and Wynnwood, a real estate podcast. Hello, everyone. This is Andre Demetrice with Yes and Wynnwood, the real estate podcast, where we help create wealth for now and the next.
Yes, again, this is Demetrice, the owner of Wynnwood Group, a real estate firm where we focus on land acquisition, new construction developments, inner city developments, and investors' relationship.
Yes. So we're super excited. This is our first podcast. Once again, this is Andre, Yes for Real Estate. I'm a real estate agent. We are developing right now. We're building 12 townhomes in Fifth Ward. We do flips. We have 9 flips going on now. My lovely wife, Joanne, shout out to you. We have around 20 doors, rental doors. So our concept with the Yes Real Estate and CR Elite is that we want to edify you in real estate, build you up, create wealth for now and for the next.
Man, Andre, this has been magic waiting out, bro.
Yes.
Me and Andre met on a project over in Fifth Ward where I was involved in the project, and Andre was. It was like seeing a person that's like starving for the knowledge and how to get in. And man, we kind of kicked it off. We exchanged numbers, and here we are today.
Yeah. Demetrice is being very, very modest. Okay. So with this being our very, very first podcast, I wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be here today. I know I wouldn't be here without Demetrice. On this podcast, we wanted to kind of share with you how Demetrice and I met, how influential he is in my life, and the reason you have the Andre today is because of Demetrice. I remember Demetrice in Fifth Ward at a project, and I remember driving to Fifth Ward all the time, just looking around, happened to see him online and called him.
Yeah,
I called him and I said, "Hey, this is Andre." I wasn't the whole Andre Yes to Real Estate. I was just Andre. And I remember calling Demetrice and I said, "Hey, this is Andre. I love what you're doing. I see what you're doing online, and I have some questions. I want to do new construction. I want to do a lot. And to be honest with you," I think I said, "Sir," but to be honest with you, I don't have anybody to help me. And we all know in real estate, in order to create wealth and go to the next level, you need
partnership.
Someone like Demetrice.
Yeah. Someone that can kind of teach you the ropes. You remember I was sharing earlier before we came online about how when I got started, I didn't know anyone to reach out to to kind of mentor me and advise me.
Yeah.
So I've often found myself reading books, reading as much as I could online, reading every piece of material that I came across. And with me growing up in a construction family, I knew the construction side of it, but there's a whole nother piece to just that component. It's the finance side of it. It's the marketing side of it.
Yeah.
It's understanding the banking side of it. And I remember I read so much information that I was speaking to a young lady one time, telling her my story, and her feedback was, "Demetrice, have you ever thought that you became the person you were searching for?" Because I see you mentoring so many people now. Wow. I see you advising so many people. And that's how kind of me and Andre met when he called asking for information. And he didn't ask 1 or 2 questions.
No,
man, he had a laundry list. But nevertheless, I saw how he was eager to get going.
Yeah.
And not just get going from a standpoint of I'm just trying to, become an overnight success, but what's the correct way to go about doing this? Because this is my vision. He always had a vision for the developments, the rental game. So that's kind of how we kicked it off with the phone call.
Yeah. And I remember if anyone is starting to do something for the first time, we all know we've been there to where you're lost. You don't know what to do. You don't want to go and make a mistake. So when I was talking to Demetrice on the phone, I was telling him my game plan and vision. And every time that I called you, every time You picked up the phone. Not one time did you ever disrespect me and say, look, you have nothing to offer to me, Andre. I don't have time for you. You seen something in me to where you wanted to sow in me the vision and everything I needed help with. And I thought that was such a blessing. And hence, you birthed the Andre you have today because of you sowing seeds into my life and making sure that I get to a level to where I am today. You played a vital role.
I think it was two things that I noticed quickly about you. Number one, I saw the hunger that you had. And with seeing that hunger, it was seeing myself all over again for someone starting for information to kind of get pointed in the right direction. Number two, I saw the commitment. Because every time you called, hey, Demetrice, man, you remember last time we spoke, you told me to do this, you told me to do that. I called this person, I called that person. And you wasn't wasting time. Let me say it that way. Whatever information I was giving you, you was acting on it immediately. So those are the two things that stood out to me because so many people will waste their time in this industry, as you know, just talking a good game, but never really acting on any. So it was two things, those two things I noticed quickly.
No, absolutely. And I remember every time you told me something different that I should be doing, I went and did it, right? To come back to report to you, to let you know that I am listening to you and I wanted to add value that way. You know, as we start, and I think a lot of people watching today have started in my position. Like you are my mentor, right? So to be on this set with you, talking to you about real estate is a dream come true, right? I think some of the questions that people might ask a newbie who's looking to invest, who's looking to do new development, to have flips or rentals is why real estate? You know, like why did you pick real estate?
Real estate is, well, number one, real estate was always kind of like a passion to me growing up. Growing up in a construction family, I got to see subdivisions come to fruition. I got to see apartments, projects, retail projects. In my hometown where I'm from, when I go there now, and there's like this strip center, kind of like how the outlet mall is here off of 290. We have that kind of in Columbus. And the only thing I remember every time I look at that particular place is, man, I remember when my dad was clearing the land off of this project. So real estate is always at the forefront. But number two, real estate is tangible. It's something that you could touch, feel, and as long as the economy is strong, and it's continuing going forward, your properties are going to appreciate if you're buying in a good area. So it's a tangible investment, something that you can touch, feel, and actually see your money, as opposed to when you're putting it in the stock market. And by the way, there's phenomenal money to be made there, but is real estate is one of the most creative industries you can possibly get into. I can look at a piece of land and say, hey, I want to do such and such project. You can come look at that same piece of land and have a different vision in mind. And both of those visions can be very profitable and successful if all things line up right. So it's one of the things about real estate. It's almost like an architect. You're designing something that is like a monument in the city. So that's how I look at real estate.
Awesome. I see it the same way. I remember when real estate was first introduced to me. You know, my whole life I grew up living in apartments. None but apartments around me. So I didn't know anything about ownership. Because all I seen was rentalship. Right. So I remember growing up in apartments, growing up in the neighborhood. My whole mindset was corporate. How can I move up in a job? How can I grow? How can I get to the next level to make more money? Right. And we all been there moving up in the company. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. But I kind of knew that, and I learned the hard way, that trusting the company and corporate, they will fail you eventually. Right. I'm going to tell this quick story. I remember growing up, working, growing up in a company, and I remember I made a mistake. Right. We all made a mistake. You made a mistake before? Yeah. My wife, she said she don't make any mistakes, but we don't leave it like that, right? So I remember I lost my job. I remember going back to the office and them telling me, Andre, we're going to let you go. right? And so all I remember was leaving the job. I was running and crying and running to catch the bus and sweating. And at that moment, I realized that, you know what? I let my life down. I left my family life down because I lost everything. When I lost my job, I had no backup plan. I had nothing to make up for the income.
Right.
So I remember getting on the bus, going back to my apartment, and I remember hearing that knock on the door. Right? And it was the maintenance guy. I didn't pay my rent, guys. Okay. So I remember running and dashing to the tub as if a hurricane was coming. And I remember hiding in the tub, having the blinds over, and I remember the maintenance guy coming in and opening the blinds and telling me to get out. Ownership. I was operating in rentership. So when he told me to get out, I had to go back and stay with my mom, which was one of the most challenging part of your life. And for anyone out there who had to go back and stay with mom, we already know you're going to hear it, right? And so I remember going back to mom until I lost my job. I lost everything. And at that point, I knew that something has to change. Right. Eventually, I got everything back together and started back working again. But that was a pivot time in my life because I told myself I would never allow someone else to have ownership.
Right.
Because this is what we're talking about, ownership over my life. And hence, I came in contact with real estate, and now I'm always thinking of ownership.
Right.
Development. How can I go to the next level?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's big, man, because real estate is a big part of ownership.
Yeah.
And it comes from, being a landlord, where you own the properties, being the owner of land. Man, I tell everybody, it's 1,000 ways to make money in real estate.
Yeah.
But you have to find your niche.
Yeah.
Because if not, you'll be all over the place.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things me and you kind of talked about.
Yeah.
Like you got in the flips and you got in the rental properties, and then you just kind of expand it from there.
Yeah.
I started out selling land.
Yeah.
Selling land to builders. Then because of my background, the came in of consulting with the engineers and the architects of understanding the site plans, understanding the potential preliminary field plans. So then it became I became like this one-stop shop guy. So when someone was looking to do that, to find a piece of property to buy for the next project, I was able to sell them the land, provide them the site plan, provide them the preliminary architectural plans. So then I actually became the developer. And oftentimes I would have to, speak with the banks about, getting this project pre-approved for the financing. So that was some of the questions I remember you was asking me, like, how does this work? How did this work? And you're one thing that I like about you, your brain operates from a standpoint of ownership. You don't just take what I'm telling you and say, okay, that's how you say do it. What Demetrice, how does it work? Do I need to call the architect? Instead of calling him, should I go meet with him so he can explain it to me in face to face? So it's ownership. You have an ownership mentality.
Yeah. I know with developing the new construction we're doing in Fifth Ward, and talking with you on the steps that needs to be taken in order to accomplish that, it was very helpful. Can you imagine trying to develop, because we're building 12 townhomes, and develop something and you had no idea about anything. Right. And to have someone like yourself to break it down and let me know what I need to do in order to accomplish that. Right. So then I have a question for you. You being a broker and doing development, did you come into real estate with that on your mind first, or how did you come into actually developing?
So man, let me tell you, I was, like I say, real estate was always at my forefront. And I was in school studying civil engineering. I was coming up on my last 2.5 semesters. Right at 2.5 semesters. And the most devastating thing happened to me ever in life. Kind of like a situation like you, that is a pivotal moment that defines you. And I was so ambitious at which we are today, that I was also studying the real estate courses to prepare to take license. And so going into my last year and a half of studies in the fall semester, for anyone that's in college, once you get into your core classes, you can't their prerequisites. So you can't take your spring classes until you actually finish your prerequisite classes in the fall semester. So I remember my name was on the list to go take care of an issue over at the financial aid office. And so I went over, I was like, okay, cool. So they was telling me I forgot to fill out a FAFSA form. And I was like, well, a part of my scholarship requirements, it wasn't in the fine print. I had the same scholarship last year. They was like, well, this year they kind of changed it up. You needed to fill out a FAFSA form. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'll go over to the library, go back to my room and fill it out real quick. Well, we had passed the deadline. And so basically, to make a long story short, it ended up when I went over to the cashier's office, they was telling me I was going to have to pay almost $24,000 for this semester and following semester because the school couldn't receive my scholarship because of this one document. Wow. And it wasn't even called out in the requirements. So it wasn't like it was my fault. It was just, it wasn't there. So I had to sit out a semester. Well, in between me sitting out, I took the real estate courses. I got my license. And in my mind, okay, when the next school year turn comes around, I'll just go ahead and knock it out, finish it out. And keep in mind, I already had I had multiple job offers lined up. Wow. And so I got put in a situation to where that scholarship no longer existed. So I was in a situation to where, what are you going to do? And I never forget this, man. I remember it was almost as if God was speaking to me saying, hey, Demetrice, get in real estate full time. Just get in real estate full time. And so I jumped in real estate full time. I walked away from a company that I was working as a project engineer for. And I jumped in it full time. And man, my first year, I replaced my salary, my income that I was making.
Your first year.
My first year. So within I never forget this. I remember speaking to my wife, I was like, hey, we were staying in an apartment at the time as well. I was like, and we was newly married. We was like 6 months into our marriage. And I was telling her, I was like, hey, you see the subdivision they're developing next door? I said, man, we're going to be developing communities like that. Wow. I said, you see this apartment complex we're staying in? We're going to be owning stuff like that. I was re-emphasizing why she married me.
You were encouraging.
So I said, baby, stick with me. Stick with me. And I said, man, we're going to be doing business with people you never couldn't imagine. Yeah. And man, within a 24-month period, I've sold over, and within a 24-month period of me jumping into real estate full time, I had sold over like 18 million in real estate. Wow. We sponsored a Thanksgiving dinner for a nonprofit company with the Collegians for the Homeless. With Mayor Sylvester Turner was the guest speaker. So we hosted that with Mayor Sylvester Turner. So, and the rest, we're here today. Yeah. But all of, you're going to go through a point in life to where you're going to have something that pushes you over the edge.
Yeah. And the great thing about the story is that we all have a story, right? We all have a game plan on how we think we want our end result to be. Correct. And we have certain things in our life that kind of shape and transform us to go a different direction. Right. So me losing my job and then me making money and getting into real estate, I wasn't an agent first. Right. So for me, I got into the real estate game buying and holding. Yes. So I had a single family and then I had a duplex. And I remember me saying, man, wait a minute. I'm outworking my agent. Yeah. Right? I'm like, look, I'm going around looking at houses, pulling up houses, and giving it to my agent.
And I remember me and you had this conversation because you never told me you were an agent. And so you came in from an investor side of it. And I was like, Andre, man, you're doing everything a realtor to do. Man, go get your license. Yeah. You're leaving money on the table because you could be, some people that you're speaking with, you could be actually helping them and the buyers don't pay you, the sellers do. Yeah. So I remember us having that conversation.
Yeah. And then having that conversation, you and other people like, man, Dre, you should get your license because you're really helping people and you got an eye for investments, right? So I ended up going ahead and getting the license, and pretty much I got the license so I can go look to buy investments. But, when you're good at something and you have a passion for it, people begin to pay you for it, right? And so it turned into other people want to buy investments, other people want to buy real estate, and I was just helping people. And then my first year, I did one deal. We're talking to you. One deal, that's right, in real estate. Second year, we did two, right? I'm a living witness that if you're consistent and persistent with what you're doing, you can overcome any and everything. Last year, all right, we did $13.6 million in transaction.
That's amazing.
So that's how many people said yes to real estate.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So
what was your average with those? Because I want people to understand the numbers.
Yeah.
So what was your average per transaction?
Yeah, that's a great question. I had 77 transactions, which means that I was dealing more on the lower end, right? So maybe 210,000.
Right.
And so my goal for this year is to do $30 million in transaction, but to do it in 40, 45 transactions. Yeah. I'm learning from you. I see what you producing, man. So I'm definitely learning from you.
And for what people don't understand, don't just, this is an often misconstrued question because people, when they think about real estate or when people are getting advice from real estate, they only jump into it because of the money. I do want people to understand the workload that goes into real estate. You're talking about 77 transactions. That's 77 inspection reports you got to go through. Those inspection reports are average 70 to 80 pages long. You're talking about 77 appraisals, 77 buyers. You're going to quickly notice you're in the psychology business because you're dealing with so many personalities. And oftentimes, if you've ever been in a situation like I've been, you find yourself working both sides of the deal. Because the statistics say in Houston that we have over 47 or 48,000 realtors and brokers. 80% of them just have their license. 10% of them do real estate part-time, and the other 10% do it full-time. So the full-time agents are often picking up the slack for that 10% of agents that are full-time in this industry are often picking up the slack for the other 90%.
No, absolutely. And another question we get a lot, you and I, is that we both in the same business. You're an agent, you're a broker, I'm an agent. You're a developer, I'm a developer. We deal with investors. So people are like, wait a minute. You guys do the same thing, but yet you partnership and have a podcast together. How in the world do you guys do the same thing and not worry about someone else taking your position?
I think it's important to understand kind of what we were speaking about off camera. I'm not doing business with Yes to Real Estate. That's your brand. I'm doing business with Andre. So Andre, because I'm doing business with you, I trust you. And so I think when you understand it from that perspective, that if I've been performing for my clients, if I've been performing for my investors, they may look over there and say, hey, what Andre got going on? But it takes a while. Real estate is so relationship driven, and it takes a while to have that trust. And I give you, man, do you know that now with some of my investors, I can pick up the phone if they're in another country or on another side of the town, another side of the world. I can say, hey, I got this piece of property that we can buy for $500,000. We can put 24 homes on it. Now let's put it under contract. Let's buy it. They haven't even looked at it, but because I performed so well, and brought in returns that they was looking for, they don't mind buying.
And then also I tell people we have a great relationship. We don't have the scarcity mindset, right? We encourage each other. We edify each other. And we always say it's enough room at the top for everyone. You and I, we do the same thing. We have a great relationship, but we also respect each other and understand that it's enough out here for you, for me, and anyone. And that's how we met. That's how we are in the same circles. We do the same thing, but most of all, we encourage each other and edify each other.
Correct. I think I agree with you more.
So with that, this is our first episode. We have many more to come. Having Demetrice here, my mentor, for us to start the Yes Wynnwood, the real estate podcast, has been magical. You're a tremendous guy. Great product. Would you like to tell people a little bit more about what you're doing now and what you have coming?
So we have a few projects coming up. We have more than a few. Just in different areas. Just in different areas. We have a current project on the market now in the Acres Homes area. 24 home gated community. Every home is going to have its own 15-foot private driveway up to a 10-foot backyard. We have a project in Edo, 2 units. They're going to be in the mid 350s. We have, several projects coming in Acres Homes.
Yeah.
From 3-story townhomes to 2-story standalone homes. So yeah, we're doing a lot. And Acres Homes is, in my opinion, is one of the fastest growing areas within the inner city of Houston, Texas. So and if there's any advice that I could give is if you're gonna seek to have a mentor, make sure you're not wasting your mentor's time by whatever information, because time is valuable.
Yeah.
And everybody, we're all busy and we don't have the time to allocate to a lot. So when we do have that time, make sure you take that time personal. And man, you've done it, bro. And now I'm looking up to you because I'm like, man, I'm getting phone calls. Hey, have you heard of this guy, Andre? Yeah. And sometimes I play the opposite side. No, I haven't heard. Who is that guy? Yeah. And just to get some feedback so I can call and tell you, hey, this is what they're telling about you in the streets.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Thank you for being a great mentor. My client, Chris Ford and Garland, are building 20 townhomes in Acres Home.
Yep.
And my other client, Julio and Jason, also building in Fifth Ward and City Gas.
Yep.
And for me, we're building 12 new townhomes in Fifth Ward, also in Frenchtown.
Okay.
So everyone, stay tuned for more episodes. Demetrice, you want to end it up for us?
And yes, really stay tuned, because we're going to be touring some of the projects that we have under construction, some of the projects that we own, and some of the projects that we sold out, and so there's a lot in store for Yes and Wynnwood, the real estate podcast.
See you at the top.